Have you ever wondered how a brand new field of law is built from the ground up? Well, it's not a random process. It's architecture. Today, we're going to uncover the blueprint for one of the most critical legal fields of our time, information law.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll get a handle on how legal fields are actually constructed. Then, we'll jump back to the 19th century for a really surprising parallel. After that, we'll define the core model of information law, see how it plays out in the real world, and then we'll wrap up by talking about why this structure is so incredibly important for our digital future.
So let's kick things off with a pretty fundamental idea. You see, new areas of law don't just pop into existence. They are engineered. They are very intentionally designed with a logical foundation, and that's to make sure they can actually stand the test of time.
And trust me, this is absolutely not an accident. This deliberate architecture is what gives information law its real strength. It ensures that as the field expands, and it's expanding to cover everything from AI ethics to data privacy, it grows with consistency and predictability. It's all about creating a stable foundation for everything that comes next.
Okay, so how is this structure actually built? To really understand the architecture of information law, we can find an amazing blueprint by looking back into legal history.
And right here, we see this fascinating echo of the past. The way information law is being built today is a direct mirror of how civil law was structured way back in the 19th century. Both fields started by defining a core set of foundational principles, what legal architects call a general part.
This timeline really drives the principle home. First, you have to codify the general framework. It's only once that foundation is rock solid that you can start building the specific applications on top of it, things like property law, contract law, or family law. The lesson is clear. The general has to come before the specific.
Okay, so this leads us to the next logical question, right? What exactly is in this foundational framework? What makes up this so-called general part of information law?
The general part, or obshia chest, in the original Bulgarian source text, is probably best understood as the operating system for the entire field. It isn't just one specific rule for one situation. No, it's the core logic, it's the theoretical engine that powers every single other law in the information space. So, a good way to think about the general part is that it provides the essential building blocks. It defines the core principles and categories, and it lays down the fundamental rules. In a way, it's the normative DNA, and by that, I mean the DNA of the rules and standards that all specific regulations grow out of.
Now, let's connect this abstract foundation to the real, concrete areas of law it supports. How does all this theory actually translate into practice? Let's take a look.
This is really where the model comes to life. You start with the general part as your core framework, and from that single source, you get all these specific applications, which altogether form what's called the special part. This means that fields like e-government, e-commerce, and e-justice are all built upon and are all governed by the exact same set of core principles. And this quote just captures that relationship perfectly. These specializations, they aren't separate, isolated fields of law at all. They are simply the general model being applied to specific contexts. So, e-commerce law is just information law applied to commerce. E-justice is just information law applied to the justice system. It's that simple. So we've seen the what and the how of this whole structure. To wrap things up, let's really focus on the why. Why does this architectural approach matter so much? And let me be clear, this is not just some academic exercise. In a world of constant, dizzying technological change, this structure provides crucial coherence and stability. It allows the law to adapt to new platforms and new inventions without just falling into chaos, because it always has a predictable, principled framework to fall back on. And all this leaves us with a final question. The general part gives us stability, but it can't be set in stone. As technology continues its relentless march forward, the great challenge for information law will be deciding which new, fundamental principles must be integrated into its core, all to make sure this elegant structure remains both stable and relevant for the future.